welcome to the channel. Here, I share Scareful stories. Stories to make you scared, make you think, make you wonder, and maybe, just maybe, make you a little more careful. If you could take a moment after the video to like, comment, and subscribe, I'd be eternally grateful. Okay, in the last video we visited Germany, and because I'm apparently a glutton for punishment and stories written about in foreign languages, today we're headed to Italy to cover the Scareful story of Carol Maltesi, an adult film star who was murdered and dismembered only to have her fans identify her from her tattoos. Carol Maltesi, who used the working name Charlotte Angie, was a 26-year-old Italian Dutch woman residing in Ruscaldina, Italy, an area about 15 miles northwest of Milan. Carol began working on OnlyFans during the COVID pandemic. The mom to a 6-year-old son, she was trying to make money to support herself and to at some point hopefully move closer to her child and his father. She was fairly successful on OnlyFans, posting photos of herself as well as adult videos. During the pandemic, she met Davide Fontana through her Instagram account. Davide, 43, worked as a banker, food blogger, and an amateur photographer. The two met up so that Davide could take photos of her. Although he was married, Davide soon left his wife and began dating Carol. It was said that they had an open relationship and both participated in making videos with adult content. The relationship didn't last too long though, but it did seem that the two remained on friendly terms after the breakup. They even lived next door to one another. Carol's family and friends last spoke to her where they heard her voice sometime in early January of 2022. After that time, all communications came via text messages. Some family and friends received messages from Carol saying that she had quit pornography and was in Dubai. There was no detailed explanation, just that she was very busy. Over time, her parents became suspicious of the messages they were receiving. Carol's mom said that she had called her daughter but found the phone turned off, so she reached out to her daughter on WhatsApp. Her dad found it strange that, unlike in the past, Carol took days to respond to his messages when normally she responded almost immediately. Carol was scheduled to appear at the Lucky Erotic Festival in Milan, Italy from March 11th to the 13th. When she failed to show up, people started questioning where she was and if the text messages they'd been receiving were really coming from her. On March 20th, 2022, 15 plastic bags were found off a cliff in Borno, Italy. The person who first saw the bags assumed that they were garbage, but upon closer inspection, they all contained body parts. Police could tell that the body was that of a woman, but her face had been burnt beyond recognition. Despite the mutilation, there were some tattoos that were intact, and police hoped that publicizing pictures of them would lead to someone recognizing the tattoos and giving a name to the body in the bags. It didn't take long for fans of Carol to recognize the tattoos from her adult videos. Some of the tattoos included Step by Step on her ankle, Wanderlust on her collarbone, You on her left hand, Be Brave on her left elbow, inverted V's on her inner thighs, and a large speckled leopard print tattoo on her upper right thigh. Friends began texting Carol to check in on her as they recognized the pictured tattoos as being identical to those that she had. Carol texted back saying, "Yes, they look like mine, but luckily I'm okay. I'd say lucky. What are the odds of someone having the exact same tattoos as you ending up in 15 black garbage bags not too far from where you live? Wouldn't you be worried it was a case of mistaken identity and that you were the intended target? Or a case of some crazy single white female type stalking you and trying to look exactly like you, possibly to replace you at some point? All the possibilities are not good ones." Carol even got text messages from a reporter checking in as fans had let the reporter know that the tattoos matched Carol's. The reporter got a text back saying, "I don't have time now for reporters and to explain why I left porn." The reporter followed up asking if Carol could talk on the phone or at least send an audio clip so that it could be verified that it was really Carol, but the reporter received no response. Suspicious, the reporter thought how the only person who would reply pretending to be a dead woman is the person who killed her. The reporter decided to go to the police. Around the same time, Davide began to think it might be wise to report Carol missing. Police were instantly suspicious of him. Carol's car was seen on surveillance cameras in the area where the garbage bags were found. Whoever dumped her body there had also driven her car, and who but Davide had access to her car? No one. When first questioned, Davide denied any involvement in Carol's death. Seizing on inconsistencies in his story, investigators pressed harder, and perhaps surprisingly, he confessed rather quickly. He first claimed that her death was a result of an accident. Later, he revealed that either on January 10th or 11th, 2022, he and Carol were making adult films in her apartment. He filmed 2 with Carol the day he killed her. The first video was still on his phone. The second video was meant to be a more extreme video, and Davide said that he tied Carol to a pole and placed a bag over her head. He then began hitting her with a hammer. According to him, I started hitting her with a hammer all over her body, not hard. And then, when I got to her head, I started hitting her hard. I'm not sure why. I don't know what happened to me. I think she was already dead, but not knowing what else to do, I cut her throat with a kitchen knife. After killing Carol, Davide says that he spent about half an hour just looking at her, and then he went home. Obviously, no one is buying the accident or I just don't know what happened story. One news outlet reported that Davide feared losing Carol when he overheard a conversation between her and the father of her child in which she spoke about moving to be closer to her son. Living next to a now murdered Carol, Davide quickly realized that he had to dispose of the body. He ordered a large freezer from Amazon as well as tools like a hatchet and saw to aid in the grisly job of dismembering her. He originally thought he'd be able to burn her body, but that proved far more difficult than he thought it would be. He then placed her body into garbage bags and stashed them in the freezer until he could figure out what to do next. To help cover up the murder, he paid Carol's rent, and confirming her family's suspicions, he used her phone to text them. In March, he decided to dump Carol's body in a spot he was somewhat familiar with, a ways away from his home and down a steep embankment. He probably should have planned that a bit better because it didn't take long for someone to come across the bags. That the body had been frozen aided police in having at least some of the tattoos still recognizable. Had Davide disposed of her body in a more remote location, or had he done so immediately without having frozen the parts first, decomposition would most likely have made identification much more difficult. Davide has been charged with first-degree aggravated homicide, dismemberment, and concealing a corpse. Police searched Carol's apartment and found a pole used for pole dancing that Davide had said he had tied her to before killing her. The scene had been cleaned up by him, but he'd left the large freezer where he'd stored her body in her apartment. In his home, police found the same garbage bags as the body parts were found in. They also seized electronic devices and collected DNA evidence. Carol's parents, son, and friends are obviously devastated at having lost her. Her dad said to Davide, "You are a devil, a cursed killer. You destroyed the life of my angel Carol. You are a monster, a butcher. How dare you take the life and torture my beautiful daughter, her face, her body. It will be a small justice, but hopefully Davide will spend the rest of his life in prison." So there's the Scareful story of the OnlyFans star whose distinctive tattoos made identification of her body and ultimately her murderer possible. If you have a story you'd like me to cover, comment down below. And until next time, stay safe and stay careful.